Welcome back, everybody, to the Washington Chess Congress. It is the third round, and my opponent for this round is Sudarshan Sriniayer. I think that's how you pronounce the name. He is like 15 or 16 years old, from the United States, rated like 21-29 FIDE, 22-35 USCF. So I got the pairing 30 minutes before the round. I mean, at this point, I'm basically I'm probably just not even gonna look at the pairings, to be honest, because it causes like a mad dash of just prepping for 20 minutes, and I'd rather just show up to the board and figure it out. So what I knew about my opponent is that he was a d4 player. He was not an e4 player, and he was really solid. So my options against d4 were to go for knight f6, e6. But, in the event that he played the knight c3 move order, I can play the Nimso, which is great. But if he does this, the truth is it's really tough to play the Queen's Indian for a win, not to mention that there are just straight-up variations for white that can, force a draw. I mean, if white really, really wants. I didn't really want to go for this. And other stuff, I mean, Queen's Gambit accepted. I saw that he played very solidly. He was just a very solid player, so I figured it was a good moment to bust out the old G6. Some of you will remember I did this against Casa Corley in Charlotte. Friendly reminder, G6 course and others are 33% off. Use code Congress. He goes c4, and then he did this. And I was like, oh, I was expecting a knight move. So my course here recommends knight c6 or just the very traditional d6 e5. This is called the hyper-accelerated or the accelerated King's Indian, because we're not playing knight f6. In many positions, we're just playing d6 e5 and sometimes even knight e7 and a very quick f5. So I decided to do this, and at this point, he thought for like 20 minutes. I'm not even kidding. So clearly not super familiar with the position. I was getting very concerned that he would actually take and try to play like a queenless game, like de5, and try to trade queens. I was ready to play this move, and after knight f3, just go back to g7, or even take. I was really ready to create imbalances, which sometimes you have to do against players who are really solid. But he went d5 after some thought. I was like, okay, well, I'm up 20 minutes on move 5. That's pretty good. And I've actually had this exact same position with the white pieces. I played a game in Las Vegas in 2019? Yes, 19. Against Pavlo Vorontsov. And I played with white. I got a pretty decent position. He played a5, knight a6. And I just blitzed out a5. You apparently can also just play the expedited f5, immediately play f5. And after ef5, you can actually play bishop f5, but shockingly, you can also play this. And even though you can get checked, you can play king f8, and apparently this isn't even that bad. I mean, it's apparently not that bad. But I was like, what? You can also just take with the bishop. But I was like, why would I do that? Let me just play a5. And already the plans are very interesting. I had this exact same structure against Casa Corley. He had a knight on f3, a bishop on f1 after he had castled and played rook e1. So, I mean, I know that if white plays knight f3, knight a6, bishop e2, if I play knight f6 myself, we just go back to a regular style King's Indian. But if I wait and I don't do that and I play knight e7 and then play f5, we're in a totally different position. But I was kind of thinking we would end up somewhere here. I would play knight c5. And if I'm going to put my knight on c5, I need to worry about a3, b4. I need to make sure that it's never possible. And if he does play the move a3, I need to be able to play a4, so he cannot play this. So my knight and my pawn need to defend. And should this bishop come here, I have pressure on the center. I can also play knight fd7. I was trying to remember all that stuff. And then he hit me with this. I was like, okay, nothing complicated. Knight a6. Now I can even hit this with tempo. And he played a very tricky move here. This is not a move that's very popular. This position has been reached a couple hundred times. A3 is not a popular move. And it's also very annoying. It's there's nothing in this position that white can do to go wrong. I mean, white can play queen h5 or queen g4 and hang a queen, but a3 is just annoying because if I play knight c5, he's just going to go here, and then he's going to prepare this move. And I'm too slow to play a4. Because if I play bishop d7, he will play bishop to e3. This is what I thought. and he will get rid of my knight potentially in some positions. This is just very annoying, and like b4 is coming. If knight e7, he can even go b4 now. And I just really didn't like this. I thought this was very unpleasant for me. My knight actually achieves nothing. So I was like, all right, since he played this a3 move, this is kind of annoying. I'm going to play bishop d7, which is a waiting move, trying to also gain time to play knight c5 and a4 in one fair swoop. Is that the saying? I don't know. My computer fan is also just going completely insane. It's been going insane when I've been recording these videos. Hopefully it's not distracting. And then here, rather than playing a classical knight f3 in the King's Indian, he plays this. So again, not like the critical approach to the position, but just really, really solid. So I'm thinking like, all right, I mean, I guess I can go knight f6 and we can play this in a classical way, but I still need to play f5. If I'm going to get anywhere in this position, I mean, I have to play f5. I have a lack of space. If I just let him sit there, he will overrun me. So I need to fight back. So I played knight e7, he castled, I castled, and I'm like, well, if he plays bishop to e3, I will play f5, because then my knight will run into his bishop. If he plays f4, structurally, I think this is good for me, because I open up my bishop, I can wait with f5, I can play against the e-pawn, my knight comes to c5. I thought, you know, all right, we're figuring things out. I'm also up on time, he plays bishop e3, I play f5. And again, if he plays like the King's Indian style f3, like f4, bishop f2, this is very common. To put the bishop on f2, your pieces are not usually set up like this. So what this will do is it will allow me to play like g5. It allows me to get that kind of King's Indian style, you know, idea of g5, h5, g4, even though the pieces are not on their like traditional optimal squares. And I thought, all right, f5, we're in business. And then he took. And I'm sitting there like, I can take three ways. Now, if I take with the pawns, this looks really good. But white has a move here. White is just going to play f4, and I had no idea what my next move was. Here's why. Against Casa Corley, I played e4, and the structure we got was similar, but my knights made sense. My knights do not make any sense right now, at all. At all. To the point that the engine is saying to go knight c8, knight d4, knight e7. Like, my knights just do not make sense. So this structure, freezing my structure, didn't make sense to me. And I was right. But what I kind of didn't evaluate correctly is apparently a move like knight g6. And again, I haven't done like deep digging on Stockfish. A move like this to just keep the tension. Just keep the tension. Of course, I saw this. And my philosophy is also, you know, I'm playing a slightly lower rated player, so the more pieces on the board, the more tension, you know, the more fight is left in the position, the more imbalance in the position. This seemed to be the way to go. Of course, if my opponent takes, that's absolutely horrible, because I can do this, and my pawns stay alive, and then they can start marching together, although it's still very, very complicated. It's horrible from the perspective of, like, you're giving me everything I want, but at the same time, it doesn't come with nothing. I mean, it comes with a pretty serious price of what. It's a very complex game. I mean, there's a lot of play left in this position. But of course, you wouldn't do that if you're with white. If you're with white, you're playing f4, so I don't play f4. You're playing f4 because if I play f4, your position sucks. Unless you get the bishop here, which is the other kind of idea of the King's Indian. So there's a lot of different play here involved. Now, I also thought about bishop f5, and I was trying to figure out who was happy here. Now, generally, if you don't take on f5 with a pawn, the e4 square for white becomes a transfer point. White will plant something there and be like, well, you have no traditional kingside attack, so I'm going to play knight to e4. So I didn't like bishop f5, but I did like knight f5 because, of course, I want the bishop. Or I want to drive my knight into the middle and then drive this knight into the middle. And, of course, the bishop f5 is an awful move because now black is just better. Black has the bishop pair and the two pawns, and you don't get c5. So I played knight f5, and he thought for a little bit. He's still down a lot on time, and he played knight e4, and I'm sitting there like, really? Really? He can do this? He can just give me the dark squared bishop. Let me put a bishop on h6 and pressure that pawn, really? And then I'm still like, it's the playing style. It's like just so solid. Like, yeah, come and prove a point to me. Sometimes I wish I had that style against grandmasters. And, you know, now I'm like, maybe I don't need to take. Maybe this is my only active piece. I mean, should I put it on d4 or something? But no, that's a really bad move. I should not do that because then I get nothing. I block my own bishop. His bishop and knight are really active. His position is good. I don't know. I was not very convinced by knight d4. The problem is I have no other move. I have no other move. I mean, I can play like b6, just do nothing and try to put a knight on c5. That might have been another way to go here to try to keep some more pieces on the board, like b6. And for example, bishop g5. Now I can move my queen. I can move it anywhere, like queen e8, and then maybe knight c5. In retrospect, I should have done this. I should have definitely not rushed with this move. I should have definitely considered b6, putting my knight on c5, keeping some more pieces on the board, because white doesn't have a whole lot of play. And if white plays something like queen d2, knight c5, like I have ideas. I'm not saying I have the advantage, far from it. It's just there's more pieces on the board. There is more play to be played. Because in the game, I took, and I didn't know what was next. I mean, I have basically 3 moves in my mind that made any sense. Bishop to h6, rook takes f1, and queen e7. I cannot play knight c5 now, because that just doesn't make... Why would I damage my structure, right? I mean, there's nothing. I mean, knight comes to c3. The new knight arrives on e4. I've done nothing for myself. So I was never going to play knight c5. I was going to play queen e7, bishop h6. I'm trying to play quickly. He's also, like, playing pretty slowly. So I played queen e7, and then he played queen d2. I'm like, okay, well, he's attacking this. Not really, because I have knight c5, but I want to make sure that he's pinned to himself. And I played I played b6 first to protect against anything of this kind being taken. Now I have ideas to play knight c5. I have ideas to play bishop h6. And like a cold shower, like this dude just played this move. I mean, excuse me? Like, that didn't even occur to me. Like, the whole white position is set up to play b4, and I just blanked that he could play it on that move. I thought the queen was going to be overextended protecting both of these pawns. Just played b4. I'm like, wow. Oh, that's a problem. To such an extent that I immediately blundered. I just played my kind of natural moves, which I thought were natural. And apparently, here the engine is already giving a big advantage for white if white just blasts through with c5. Which doesn't look possible because I control that square 4 times. So for example, like dc5, and if he takes, I just take with a knight, right? But dc5, b5. And then if knight b8, rook f8, like let's say I take like this, or I don't know, bishop or something, and now this move. Not right away, but play this first, threaten this, and then d6. Absolutely savage idea, c5. And then if I take with bc5, then rook f8, and then I take, and then he goes for my a pawn. Oh, actually, if rook f8, then bishop takes knight. But if this, or queen f8, then he goes like this. And he has doubled a pawns, but the engine likes this for white. It thinks that white is doing well. I mean, it thinks that black can hold, but it likes this. But I played bishop h6 just with the intention that he can't move his queen. And then he did this. And I mean, now the game is just simply going to be a draw because we're just going to trade all the pieces. Although even now he can play c5. He decided to do this. Again, even in the moment that he could have actually flipped the switch completely and went for... He played very solidly. Knight b8, and he doubled up. And the game is over. It's just a draw. Because I have to trade, and then I played this, and I offered him a draw. And he accepted. There is no play to be played. I mean, this pawn is a weakness, but even if I win it, like even this position... Let's just say I take and he just IRL mouse slips. This is unwinnable. Even if bishop c1 a4, this is unwinnable because at the end of the day, it's opposite colored bishops and a total fortress. I cannot get my knight around the position. If I somehow, by some miracle, got my knight here and got all my pawns forward, maybe. And even then, it might still be unwinnable because of how strong the fortress is. So I drew. Lost a couple rating points. Early night, though. I've been done for like an hour and a half. Just waited a little bit to upload the video. I don't want to put the videos too close together. YouTube doesn't like that very much. 6 hours is like a golden number. Yeah, so very poor play in all 3 rounds so far. Very poor. Not the quality of my play, although that too, to be honest. Everything's going a little bit wrong. Everything. Like some of the openings are not great. And then some of the middle games, I'm not, I don't know, just not playing that well. On the round 2 video, against Grandmaster, Joe, Jianchao, there was a comment that said, I pinned it. It was, I'm making too many excuses. I haven't made a single one. In fact, I'm just very self-critical. I'm just analyzing my games. I don't know what excuses I could possibly be making. And if you watch the entire video and your takeaway is that I'm making excuses, it's time to look in the mirror and potentially begin to admit that you might be a little stupid. But for the rest of you who are nice and supportive, this is going to be a relatively short video. 20 move draw. And I got to turn it around. I'm down a few rating points. I'm definitely not in the running for a GM norm, but I'm never going to this tournament with the mentality of norm or bust. It's just play good chess, make good memes, and make good recaps, and gain some rating. So right now, I'm doing a lot of those things, except gaining rating. So I'll be back tomorrow morning for round number 4, and I'm going to enjoy... See that stuff on the table? That's some leftover Indian food. I got a chicken korma with a mango lassi and some garlic naan. The best Indian cuisine. Although I know the folks from India are going to be like, that's not real like Indian food because we have like, chicken tikka masala is apparently not an Indian dish. Anyway, I got chicken korma. Anyway, on top of all that, I'm not even talking about the chess anymore. I just felt bad making a really, really short recap. So you're all appreciated. Much love to all of you. And you are not just the sum of all your chess moves. You are more than that. You are great. You are awesome. And shout out to all the people who have said hello to me, by the way. The most recent one was Sophie or Sophia. Crap, I forgot. Okay, but we took a photo. Shout out to you. And a few other people just came to the tournament to just say hello. And they're not even playing. So you are appreciated. I'm going to shut up now. Round 4 soon. Peace out.